Councillor Ward as an apology for tonight's meeting. He sent an email through earlier today. Also note that this meeting is being recorded for accuracy purposes, so please be advised of that. Confirmation of minutes. The minutes from the previous meeting of the 16th of June have been circulated. Somebody wish to move that? Can move Councillor Duffy, seconded Councillor Tatchell. All those in favour? Carried. Please, yeah, thank you. Carried. Any matters arising from the previous minutes? No. Disclosure of conflict of interest. Councillors, are there any on the agenda tonight, please? Yeah, Councillor Darry, you wish to disclose a conflict of interest, please?
Yes, thank you. I'd like to disclose a conflict of interest on item 7.1.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. Councillor Edwards,
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to disclose a conflict in item 7.2 in that I have a close association with the application with the applicants.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Edwards. And councillors, I would like to also disclose the conflict of interest in item 7.2 in that I've done some work professionally for the applicant as a surveyor on that particular application, and also have a conflict of interest in item 13.1, which is in the confidential section, in that having done some work for that particular person who's responding to that query here tonight. So please note, just make those aware when we come on. Thank you, councillors. So the first item is 7.1. So Councillor Minari, if you wish to leave the meeting, and as noted by the governance officer, we leave the meeting electronically and will then be advised when after the item, so to come back into the meeting. So noting that Councillor Minari has left the meeting. This item, councillors, 7.1. There is a recommendation, and I do note there has been an alternate recommendation circulated to councillors. So I'm in your hands, councillors.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to move the alternate recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Tatchell. You're breaking up there a bit, but we did actually hear what you said. Is there a second for that alternate motion?
If I may,
proposed?
Just
sorry,
yeah,
Councillor. You have a query there, Councillor Edwards? Sorry. Yes,
yes, I do. Just I had a read of the proposed alternate recommendation. I just have two questions. The first one is in relation to paragraph 5 and 6. It was my understanding, if this was to be approved, that the statutory requirement for the residual land was large enough that under the planning scheme that it didn't require a farm management plan. Is that correct?
Does one of the officers wish to respond, or the mover of the motion?
Well, I tend to agree. So, Mr. Mayor, I'd be happy to amend my my alternate motion to take out item or paragraphs 5 and 6, if that being the case.
Okay. Does that allay your concerns, Councillor Edwards? Sorry.
Yeah, it does, but I'd just like to get confirmation that that's correct from officers.
So through the chair.
Okay. Yes.
Through the chair, it is correct in relation to the lot, but what we're considering is the subdivision. And because the subdivision is creating an additional parcel, it's usual for us to have that type of condition on there. Because the justification for the subdivision needs to be that there's a sufficient farm management plan to justify the subdivision in the first place.
Okay. Is that a lot? And
I accept the amendment.
Okay, so we have a
just one other question, if I may, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Edwards, yes,
just
please.
In relation to condition 12, it's just an unusual condition. It's not actually a condition, it's a statement.
Any of the officers wish to respond to that, please? Mr. Phillish or Mr.
Sorry, could you just clarify which one condition 12 is?
Yeah, so condition 12 talks about, and I just need to grab it in front of me. I just wrote it down.
Take the time,
questions. Number 12 talks about, it says that by issuing a permit, it doesn't guarantee that we get a building, but that's just a statement. It's not a condition, is it?
That's the one from Barwon Water, is that correct?
No, this is, well, it's not, there's some conditions in there from Barwon Water. Just hang on, I need to find the alternate recommendation.
So through the chair, it is a Barwon Water.
Please.
It is a Barwon Water condition, and I think what they're alluding to is that they're agreeing to consent to the subdivision to allow for this house excision, but if there's a subsequent, they're basically implying that they wouldn't support if there was a requirement for a planning permit and it had to go before them.
Okay, so it is as more of a statement or an alert, I guess. Is that
Yes.
correct? Yeah. Is that what your
requirement? Just so I can clarify, Mr. Mayor. Sorry, it's a little bit difficult to understand. So that was a requirement from Barwon Water, was it? It's an interesting one because it's not actually a condition that I could see. It would still doesn't trigger a permit, does it?
I think I think they're just saying if it came before them again, that's what they're suggesting. Or is that my reading it correctly, Mr. Lovell or Mr. Phillish?
Through the chair, that's how I would read it as well, yes.
Okay.
So subsequent, if I can, just another question. I just like to clarify, just to make sure I'm clear on this one. So because a permit would not be required, because it would be a right of, I forget the language, but it'd be a right of the landholder because of the size, there would be no requirement to go back to Barwon Water. Just want to clarify that.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Edwards. Councillors, we have a mover, Councillor Tatchell and Councillor Dudzik, and also noted that those two items, I think they were 5 and 6 from memory, on their condition are to be removed. Is that correct, Councillor Tatchell?
Yeah, that's correct, Mr. Mayor.
So just to make councillors aware of that. So is there any dissent? I'll put that, all those in favour. And if you could just please raise your hands, councillors, I can't sort of see. Thank you. The motion is carried. Thank you. The next item of business, councillors, is item 7.2. And as noted earlier, I do have a conflict of interest in that. So before I go, I just ask if Councillor Tatchell could step into the chair while I leave the meeting, if that's okay, please. So I'll just leave the meeting and hand it over to Councillor Tatchell. Just give me a minute to leave.
Councillor Minari needs to come back.
She's back.
She's back. Okay. All right, Councillor. So how many have we got left?
That's what I'm. 1, 2, 3, 4.
3. And myself is 4. Okay, so we'll move on to item 7.2. And I think Councillor Minari had a comment.
Yes,
on,
sorry.
Suspending standing orders.
Yes, I would like to
Yes,
request that we
Councillor Murray.
suspend standing orders.
Can I have someone second that, please? Anyone? Thank you, Councillor Berry. Those in favour? So carried. So that means we'll have to turn the video off, the live streaming, while we suspend standing orders. So I'll wait till that's been removed, and then we'll enter into a discussion.
Sorry, we'll just have to pause for a second there to work out the technicalities of that.
Okay, I'll put the elevator music on, or maybe Councillor Dudzik Berry can sing a song. No? I'd be naked at harmonising, so we're still live. Okay, so maybe Councillor Minari could
Sing a song.
Sing a song. We don't have any elevator music on tap.
I don't think I'd sound too good with the static of my internet.
Well, I've got a voice that would scare farm machinery. Okay, we're still live. Which is a 2-lot subdivision at 646 Cameron Road, Camida. I'm in your hands, Councillor. I'm still in your hands.
I move to defer the item. Are we going to let the speaker speak?
Oh, yes, sorry. My word. Sorry, I got confused by the, yeah, well done. Thank you, Councillor. Yeah, sorry. If I could bring Stephen Burke into the frame, if it's possible. My apologies, Councillor. How are we going there, IT? First to IT.
It's the audio is just connecting now, Councillor Tacho, for the applicant.
Thank you, Mr. CEO. And he almost smiled. Mr. Burke? No. We're certainly putting IT under pressure tonight. So my regards to the IT people and their efforts.
Hello.
Hello, Mr. Burke. Stephen.
Yeah, g'day, Steve Burke.
The floor is yours.
Cameron. Thank you, Steve Burke, Cameron's Road, Comida. Firstly, can I thank the councillors for your time and allowing me to speak on behalf of my in-laws, Robert and Heather, Monday, in relation to the proposed subdivision at 246 Cameron's Road, Comida. Moorabool Planning Officer Mr. Lovell has recommended a refusal to grant a permit on 4 points as listed in the agenda, and we strongly disagree. Whilst I could sit here for some time and talk for hours going over the piece by piece why we think Mr. Lovell has not considered this application purely on today's planning rules and considerations and is basing his recommendations on previous applications, I would like to take the time to give you a brief overview of the key points of why we disagree and that this application meets today's planning rules. Councillors, you have all the information in front of you, and I know you will have taken the time to read and brief yourselves on the application. We don't believe the proposal would undermine the strategic work that was undertaken in the rezoning of the land back in 2017. The rezoning in 2017 has provided for and clearly states that the use is now for limited rural living lots with designated building envelopes. It does not stipulate that no further application could be made, and we only ask that this application be considered on its merits. The block in question is only one of 4 in the 573 hectare parcel of land that was rezoned that could be subdivided twice under the minimum 6 hectare requirement approved for rural living. Back in 2017, we could have pursued further subdivision, but we did not want to further reduce the size of the land we live on. Circumstances for us have changed since 2017, and the family cannot maintain such a large piece of land, and failure to further subdivide will force us to leave the land that we've brought our family up on. Council has the option at its discretion to approve or deny any further application that are made within the precinct. 246 Cameron's Road has 2 suitable building envelopes identified it, and both were approved by the CFA. This was done in discussion with the Shire officers at the time, with the proponent intent on using the alternative building envelope to indicate that the strategic work had been done and would be suitable for future development. The proposal meets the criteria under the heading of rural living zone. The proposed lot in the application has a reduced bushfire risk. The land slopes towards the east, and there are no trees or significant flora on or adjacent to the proposed building lot. The building envelope is approximately 400 metres outside the Boral Quarry buffer zone and was approved by the CFA. The Land Capability Assessment Report identifies that the site is suitable for a waste management system and can be managed on the site. It meets the criteria set out under the regulative guidelines. The land in question is unsuitable for farming and it has undulating slopes and has predominantly Galenia as ground cover. Poor soil quality contributes to the lack of natural grass growth. This, with low rainfall in the area and the reliance on storage for water, inhibits the land being suitable for the running of stock. So in summary, councillors, I ask that councillors to consider this application in its own right, and the previous subdivision application should not be used as an excuse to consider this proposal on its merits. The facts are the block in the application is twice the size of the minimum requirement for rural living. It ticks all the required regulations by the referred authorities, being Western Water, Melbourne Water, Powercor, Country Fire Authority, Council's Infrastructure, Council's Environmental Health. They have all consented to the application with conditions. Public consultation was carried out with no objections. This block is zoned rural residential and is not suitable farming. It is not a block that has been subdivided or is on prime agricultural land. I see this as an opportunity for council to approve a rural living block that meets the regulations and requirements whilst having no impact on farming land within the region. 246 Camerons Road, in its current size of 24.6 hectares, is unsuitable for agricultural and farming, and it's currently too large for my elderly in-laws to maintain moving forward. Rural living blocks in the Moorabool municipality are hard to come by and are in high demand, and this application provides for diversity of option for growth within our Shire. Once again, I urge the councillors to view this application on its merit, and I'll thank you for your time.
Thanks, Mr. Burke. I'll just leave you there for a minute to see if the councillors have any questions. Councillors, any questions for Mr. Burke or officers? No questions. Thanks, Mr. Burke. We'll let them
Tonia's got
know.
Tonia's got
Yes, you had a question?
Yeah, through the chair, I would like to ask Mr. Burke why this application wasn't included in the original C58 amendment.
Mr. Burke? Can you hear me?
I would have to ask the owners why that wasn't done, or why they didn't do it.
Okay, so that has to be taken on notice, Stephen?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions, councillors? No? Thanks, Stephen.
Thank you.
Okay, back to you, councillors. I'm back in your hands again. Sorry for the misunderstanding before.
I'd like to move a deferral of this item so councillors can have a further briefing on the C58 amendment and implications.
Thanks, councillor.
And I come back to a future DAC.
Okay, thanks, councillor. Do I have a seconder for that?
And I'd like to second that also, so we can look at the history also. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor Berry. Any objections? There's only one other person in the room, councillor Minari. No objections? Okay, those in favour of deferral, please raise your hands. I can't see you, councillor Minari. Yell out if you will. Yay or no?
Yes, I'm here. Yeah, with my hand up.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I just didn't have it on the screen. So the motion's passed. So thank you. And we'll, I think we have to call in whoever's missing out of the room. I think Councillor Edwards. And I think Councillor Sullivan or the Mayor has a conflict on the next item. So would someone like to get Councillor Edwards? Or not?
Councillor Sullivan is in, and I think they're just contacting Councillor Edwards now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I thought I'd been abandoned.
Mr. Mayor, we had a suspension of standing orders, and we've had a motion to defer. It's been agreed upon for another briefing on some technicalities from both sides. One from the officers had the technicalities, and also the Speaker took a question on notice as well from Mr. Burke. So it's been put into a deferral.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Tatchell. Thank you very much. So I'll just wait till Councillor Edwards joins us.
Is Councillor Berry frozen? Her hand's still up on my screen.
No, not on mine. So it must be just an IT. Councillor Berry hasn't got a hand up, and she's waving now. But so is it still frozen on your screen, Councillor Dudzik?
She's come back. She was like this for like 5 minutes.
Okay. Okay. Oh well. No, everything's fine. So we'll just wait for Councillor Edwards to join us before we move on to the next item of business.
It could have been just shock. I think I'll move a motion to get some elevator music. You know.
It'd be appropriate, I think. A bit of mood music.
They might block our music from our era, Tom.
No, that's true. That's
We
true.
could actually invent a Moorabool song.
Well, we could have a contest.
I did see a Christmas video, which the music from that would go all right. I've seen it online.
Oh,
Okay. Oh, well, we'll call for suggestions then, perhaps.
Yeah.
No volunteers.
No, not at my end.
No. They threw me out of the choir.
No.
Mr. Mayor, we're trying to contact Councillor Edwards. He's not in the meeting room, but we've sent him a couple of messages.
Okay, so he shouldn't be far away. He might have some other IT problems, perhaps.
That's one thing about COVID too, is that we haven't got the our internet. It's not as quick or not as strong while we have so many people locked up. So I think that's. But I did note that our local member put out a media release that they'd invested. I think you might know, doesn't mean Mr. Mayor, but I think it was another 55 million. I think to
considerable amount anyway. Yes, to try and improve it. But I think the point you make is quite valid. A lot of people are, utilising IT technology, working from home, etc. So it does sort of put a drain on the resource. Well, whilst they're fine, perhaps we might just, the next item is just update of trends, issues and other matters. So maybe it's just an update from officers if there's anything that they wish to advise council of before Councillor Edwards comes on board. Oh, there's Councillor Edwards now. Councillor Edwards, we I just moved on to item 8, which is updates of trends, issues and other matters, and waiting for a response from officers. That's as far as we've gone. So I'll just hand over to Mr. Bazudenhout if there's anything just to what wishes to raise.
Nothing to raise, Mr. Chair, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Next item is item 9, process forward any work programs that may be underway at the moment.
No specific update, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Any update of VCAT decisions that have come through recently that have maybe of interest to councillors?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We intend bringing a report to the next DAC, just to provide an overview of the last 12 months, the VCAT cases, the outcomes, and maybe a quick summary of the implications of those decisions.
Thank you, Mr. Bazudenhout. I think that's a good idea. It would certainly help inform the decision, would sort of close the loop to some extent, because council may make a decision and then one way or the other, and then if it goes to VCAT, it'd be just interesting to sort of see and perhaps inform our decision going forward, and that would be very worthwhile. Any questions on that, councillors? No, thank you. Any other business? Any other business at the moment?
no, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. The date of the next meeting, which is set for Wednesday, the 18th of August. So just to note that. We now move into a closed session of council. I'll just note that I did declare a conflict of interest in this matter earlier. So what I might do is, if someone will go into closed session, and then I'll sort of leave the meeting. So Councillor Tatchell, any seconder, please. Go into confidential. Seconder, Councillor Minari. All those in favour?